I was supposed to be packing. I had a 6 a.m. flight to Houston the next morning for a 3-day business trip. Instead, I found myself frozen in the hallway of my own damn house, holding my breath like a stranger eavesdropping in a hotel corridor. My daughter's voice, Ava, 14, sweet as ever, or so I thought, floated from the living room. Don't worry, Ava, he's totally blind. Mom's lover even drives me to practice in his pickup. I didn't breathe. Then came the giggle. That sickening, lightheaded giggle of a teenager who thinks she's winning some secret game. They're using Dad's business income to buy a beach house in Florida. As soon as he leaves on his trip, we're moving in. The walls closed in. My ribs tightened around my lungs. That little girl had no idea I was standing 10 feet away, clutching the edge of the wall like it was the only thing keeping me from collapsing. But I wasn't collapsing. No. My mind was snapping into place like cold steel. That night, I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I didn't even pack. I sat at my home office desk, in the dark, and turned off the emotion. I froze every account. I shredded the paperwork for the Florida house, the one I was supposed to surprise her with next month. I wrote a farewell letter, signed the preliminary divorce draft I'd had on standby for other reasons, and left it all neatly on the bed, right next to her favorite silk robe. She never saw me leave. I drove for hours, no destination. Just rode in silence. My phone rang 5 times before I finally picked up. It was my friend Brian. His voice snapped me back into the moment. Bro, you all right? Not yet. Talk to me. I told him everything, Ava's words, the pickup truck, the money. His response? That man. I never liked her. You know that, right? Yeah, I knew. I just didn't want to admit that maybe everyone else had seen what I didn't. But this wasn't just about her cheating. This was war. It wasn't just infidelity. It was theft, betrayal, treason in the sacred halls of marriage. And she dragged my daughter into it like some apprentice in her web of lies. I turned the car around and went back. No, not to talk. Not to fight. To watch. The next morning, before my supposed flight, I parked a few blocks away and waited until the garage opened. At 8:04 a.m., a dirty blue Ram pickup pulled up. A man stepped out, mid-40s, sleeveless shirt, cheap cologne so thick I swear I could smell it through the windshield. My daughter jogged to the truck like she'd done it 100 times. And then came her Lauren, my wife, my former everything, wearing leggings that weren't meant for morning errands, laughing like nothing was wrong in the world. She kissed him, right there in front of the house I paid for, in front of the lawn I mowed every Saturday, in front of the life I bled to build. My fingers gripped the steering wheel so hard it creaked. But I didn't step out. Not yet. No, I wanted the pieces to fall into place perfectly. This wasn't going to be an explosion. It was going to be a slow, burning implosion. One she wouldn't even see coming until the floor vanished beneath her stilettos. She thought I was on a plane. Good. Let her keep thinking that. Let her laugh. Let her plan. Because the game had just begun, and I had nothing left to lose. By the time I pulled away from the corner that morning, something in me had calcified. I wasn't mourning anymore. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I was focused, in the way a hunter locks eyes with prey that doesn't know it's being watched. Lauren had crossed a line, but bringing Ava into it? That made it war. I drove straight to Brian's house. He was already waiting on the porch with 2 coffees, and that look he gets when he knows something's about to burn down. He didn't say a word as I got out and sat beside him. We watched the sun climb over the rooftops like nothing had happened. I need help, I finally said. What kind? He asked, though he already knew. The kind that leaves no trace, but makes a point. Brian was the guy you went to when you needed quiet justice. Not illegal. Just precision strikes. First, we secured the house. I had remote access to every camera and alarm in the place, but I'd never checked the footage much, too busy, too trusting. I logged in and started scanning the last few weeks. That's when it got real. There he was. That same truck. That same smug grin. Coming in through the garage every Tuesday and Friday around 11 a.m. Staying for 2 hours. Sometimes 3. My house. My bed. My world. Violated like it was nothing more than a cheap motel. Lauren's body language said everything. Playful. Familiar. Brazen. In one video, she actually walked him through the house, showing him our future renovations, my blueprints in his hands. I paused the frame where she was leaning against the kitchen island, sipping wine in the middle of a weekday like she was hosting a brunch date. This woman's not just cheating, I muttered. She's moving in. Brian leaned over. She's staging a takeover. Exactly. This wasn't just lust. This was conquest. And she'd weaponized our daughter in the process. That night, I sent Ava to stay with her friend Madison under the excuse that the house needed fumigation. I needed time and space. Lauren didn't ask questions. Too busy planning her fantasy escape, no doubt. The next 2 days, I went through every bank statement, every expense, every email I had access to. I found payments to a K&M Home Consulting. Guess who the M was? Mr. Pickup Truck. Name, Mitch Harper. I laughed. Mitch. Of course. There were dinners billed to my business card. Jewelry shipped to a P.O. box in her maiden name. A private Gmail thread where she coordinated a moving day with a rental truck service. Time for the day I'd be out of town. She even used a fake name, Catherine Reynolds. Bold, creative, and completely traceable. By the end of the second day, I had enough to rip her fantasy apart at the seams. I compiled every receipt, screenshot, video still, and email chain into a neat little digital file labeled The Florida Fairy Tale. Now came the fun part. I booked a lawyer, one I'd spoken to months earlier during a rough patch, back when I thought I was being paranoid. I wasn't. He remembered me. You want clean, or you want fire? He asked. I want both, I replied. I want her to lose sleep for the next decade. We filed the paperwork under a temporary confidential clause, freezing her ability to make any financial changes, including withdrawals, sales, or property claims. The beach house deal? Dead. The business share she thought she had? Legally challenged and frozen. My company accountant was already reviewing misused funds, and a private investigator was building a timeline to protect custody of Ava. I didn't show up at home that week. I let her think I was still in Houston. But on the night I was supposed to fly back, instead of walking through the front door with a suitcase, I stood on the sidewalk across the street, watching. She was hosting a celebration. Music playing. Candles flickering. Wine glasses on the patio table. And Mitch, standing in my grill apron. She toasted. They laughed. I smiled. Let them enjoy it. Tomorrow morning, the bomb would drop. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was anxious. That phase was over. I didn't sleep because I didn't need to. My body ran on something else now. Cold fire. At exactly 8 a.m. the next morning, Lauren received a knock on the front door. She probably thought it was a package. Or maybe Mitch, back again for round 2. But no, it was a man in a tailored navy suit holding a thick envelope with a gold emblem on it. Legal service. Hand-delivered. Filed. Certified. Timestamped. Inside, the full divorce petition, asset freeze confirmation, evidence summary, custody request, and the demand to vacate my property within 72 hours. She wasn't home alone. My neighbor, Cynthia, a retired nurse who walked her dog at the same time every morning, told me what happened. She opened the door in her robe. The man said, "Good morning, are you Lauren Jennings?" And she said yes. He handed her the envelope and walked off without another word. And honey, I swear she turned white, then red, then white again. I've never seen someone's jaw actually drop like that. Cynthia didn't even know the half of it. Within 2 hours, I received a frantic barrage of texts from Lauren. Lauren, what is this? Lauren, we need to talk. Lauren, you can't be serious. Is this some kind of joke? Lauren, call me right now. I didn't respond. Not yet. She called next. 4 times. Voicemail after voicemail. I let them pile up while I reviewed the footage one last time, the giggling, the whine, the little smirks they exchanged like I didn't exist. Around noon, she sent a longer message. Lauren, if you're upset about the house, we can talk. This doesn't have to be dramatic, Aaron. I was going to tell you everything once you got back. I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened. Please let's talk like adults. It just happened. Like a thunderstorm. Or a flat tire. She didn't mention Ava once. At 3 p.m., I finally sent one message back. You involved our daughter. You stole from my company. You lied for months. We're done. My lawyer will speak for me. 5 minutes later, she replied. Lauren, you're really going to turn our family into a legal war zone over a mistake? Mitch loves me, Aaron. You never even saw me. He makes me feel alive. You were always married to your work. There it was. The rewrite of our entire marriage in 2 sentences. Mitch the hero, me the villain. Classic. But she underestimated one thing: I had receipts. And I had control now. I posted nothing publicly. I didn't bash her on social media. No long rants. No name calling. Just one update on my company's internal network. Due to ongoing legal proceedings and misuse of corporate funds, all access by Lauren Jennings has been revoked. We wish her the best moving forward. That was enough. The whispers began. The questions started flowing. She messaged again, this time furious. Lauren, how dare you humiliate me like that? I didn't deserve this. I built that company with you. I almost laughed. She hadn't even filed a tax return in 4 years. Built? What, exactly? Her shopping carts? At 6 p.m. that day, Brian and I met at a bar downtown. I ordered bourbon. He raised his glass without a word. He didn't have to say anything. I toasted quietly. To freedom. To the beginning of a new life where I wasn't walking on eggshells, second-guessing my instincts, or being gaslit into thinking I was paranoid. That night, I went home, to my other property. A place she didn't know about. Paid in full. Empty. Mine. I poured a drink, dropped my phone on the counter, and let it vibrate in silence. Let her scream. Let her spiral. Tomorrow was custody court. And I wasn't showing up to lose. Court is a strange place. It doesn't matter if you're the victim or the villain. You walk in wearing a suit, sit in straight rows, and hope the truth is enough. I wasn't nervous walking into that custody hearing. I had facts. I had footage. I had a lawyer with a silver tongue and a spine made of iron. And most importantly, I had a daughter to protect. Lauren showed up 20 minutes late. That's who she was now, the kind of woman who strolls into court like it's a nail salon. She wore a beige dress that screamed innocent, a pair of heels she could barely walk in, and those oversized sunglasses people wear when they're hiding hangovers or shame. She didn't look at me. Not once. But Mitch was with her. Yes. He showed up to family court. Like some dollar store prince ready to hold her hand in front of a judge. That said everything. She wanted to show she'd already replaced me, even as we stood there fighting over who gets our daughter. My attorney, Douglas, leaned over. This is good. Judges don't like theatrics. Good. Because I wasn't there to act. The hearing began. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman named Judge Maxwell, asked for opening statements. Lauren's lawyer went first, painting her as a misunderstood woman who made emotional mistakes because she felt neglected by her husband's overwhelming workload. Cue the pity parade. When it was Douglas's turn, he stood up and placed a printed packet on the table. Your Honor, he said, this isn't about infidelity. This is about deception, manipulation, and the use of a child as emotional collateral. He handed over video stills, Lauren kissing Mitch in our driveway, Mitch picking Ava up in the mornings without my knowledge, even Ava laughing about how they planned to use my income for a beach house. Her words, caught on our own home security audio. The courtroom went still. Judge Maxwell adjusted her glasses. Is this the child's voice in these recordings? Yes, Your Honor. And the adult male? Mitch Harper. He is not a legal guardian. Not vetted. Not related to the child. Lauren finally spoke. That's not fair. Judge Maxwell raised a hand like a traffic cop. You'll have your chance. Sit down. Lauren sat. We didn't need to drag this out. I wasn't trying to erase her from Ava's life. I just wanted structure. Boundaries. No strangers driving my daughter around. No secret side lives that turned my daughter into a pawn. Judge Maxwell ruled in 15 minutes, shared custody, but Ava was to remain primarily with me during weekdays. No unauthorized adults were allowed to transport her without my written consent. All financial decisions had to be disclosed during ongoing divorce proceedings. Mitch? Banned from pickup duties. Permanently. Lauren didn't take it well. She snapped. This is Bull's ****, she shouted in open court, rising from her chair. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, whispering something frantic. But it was too late. Her mask had cracked in front of the judge. Judge Maxwell's voice dropped an octave. Ms. Jennings, you are on record. I advise you to remain respectful if you wish to keep your current visitation privileges. Lauren stormed out. Mitch followed like a lost puppy. I stayed seated, calm, quiet, until the gavel struck. It was done. As I left the courthouse, my phone buzzed with a message from Ava. Hey, I heard about court. Are you okay? I stared at the screen for a second before replying. I'm okay, baby. We're gonna be okay now. I promise. She sent a heart emoji back. That was all I needed. I wasn't trying to ruin Lauren. I just needed to reclaim my life and protect the one piece of it that still mattered. The fallout had just begun, but for the first time in months, I walked into the daylight without feeling like a man who'd been robbed of everything. She wanted war. She got court orders. I chose peace and won custody. The day after court, Lauren tried to rewrite history. She posted a photo of herself and Ava, one taken over a year ago, with a caption that read, "Through the chaos, we stay strong. Family first. Red heart # mother-daughter bond # new beginnings." It was cute, strategic, and completely detached from reality. The truth? Ava hadn't spoken to her mother since the courtroom meltdown. She was still angry. Not because of the affair, she was too young to fully grasp that, but because of the lies, the secrecy, the betrayal of trust. Ava stayed quiet for a few days. Barely said a word at dinner. Not cold, just distant. Processing. I didn't push. We went to the movies one night, just the two of us. She asked for popcorn with extra butter and didn't look up much during the previews. But halfway through the film, she leaned over and whispered, "I'm glad I'm with you, Dad." I didn't say anything, just squeezed her hand. She held it until the credits rolled. Meanwhile, Lauren's life was starting to unravel. Word spread. Fast. She didn't realize how many mutual friends we had, or how many of them actually liked me more. I kept my side quiet. But people aren't stupid. They saw the sudden change. The silence. The photos of Mitch in her stories like he hadn't just strolled into a marriage like a homewrecker with a truck bed. My phone started buzzing with messages from people we hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey man. I had no idea. If you ever want to talk, I'm around. Lauren posted something weird today. You okay?" Apparently, she'd begun telling people I abandoned her emotionally, that I checked out of the marriage. The classic deflection. But the thing about lies is, once they crack, they crumble fast. Lauren tried calling Ava after court. No answer. Then she texted me, demanding that I force Ava to respond. "Lauren, she's my daughter too. You don't get to turn her against me." I replied once. "I didn't turn her against you. She saw what you did. Now she's deciding what she feels. That's not my fault. It's yours." No reply after that. But a week later, the real storm hit. Mitch's wife reached out. "Yeah, you read that right. The man Lauren was flaunting on Instagram? He had a whole marriage of his own. With kids. A mortgage. A church group. The works." Her name was Denise Harper. She sent me a Facebook message with the subject line, "You deserve to know everything." I opened it expecting passive aggression. What I got was a bombshell. Photos. Texts. Screenshots of Mitch telling Denise he was handling things and waiting for Lauren to finalize her divorce. Turns out, Mitch had been living two lives, and my wife had no idea she was just one of them. I asked Denise, "Why are you telling me this?" She responded, "Because you look like a good man, and my kids don't deserve a liar for a father. Yours doesn't either." I sat there staring at the message. It was poetic. The woman who burned our family to the ground for a man had picked a man who was already playing the same game on her. And suddenly, the flames she'd set were circling back. I didn't respond to Lauren. I didn't warn her. I just waited. The next night, I watched her Instagram story disappear mid-post. Her account went silent. No photos. No cryptic quotes. No curated selfies. Just black. Brian called 2 days later. "You see her profile?" he asked. "Gone," I said. "She finally figured it out?" I laughed softly. Mitch was cheating on her the whole time. Silence. Then Brian said, "Damn. That's poetic justice, bro." Yeah, it was. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about Ava. About making sure she never had to see this kind of chaos again. The game was ending and Lauren didn't even realize she'd been playing on borrowed time. Lauren didn't show up for her next scheduled visitation with Ava. It was a Thursday. Rainy. Ava sat in the living room with her backpack on, earbuds in, trying to pretend she wasn't checking the clock every 5 minutes. She didn't ask me where her mom was, not out loud. But I saw it in her eyes. She was hoping, just a little, that maybe this time Lauren would prove everyone wrong and show up. She didn't. No call. No text. No explanation. At 7 p.m., Ava finally stood up, pulled off her earbuds, and said, "I'm just gonna go shower." That night, after she fell asleep, I poured a drink and sat in the kitchen scrolling through the parenting app we were legally required to use to coordinate visits. Lauren hadn't even logged in since the court ruling. I knew why. Her whole world was unraveling, and she was too proud to admit it. The next day, I got a call from Denise Harper again. Her voice was calm, but sharp. "You should probably know," she said. "Lauren showed up at my place last night. Crying." I blinked. "What?" She stood outside my house for 20 minutes. She wanted to talk to Mitch. I told her to leave before I called the cops. "He's not here." I kicked him out 2 nights ago. He's living in a motel. I let that sink in. So, she didn't know? No. She was the last to know. She kept saying he promised her the world. That they were starting fresh. I told her to go start it somewhere else. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the beach house. The fake moving day. Ava's voice saying, "Don't worry, he's totally blind." Lauren had chosen her path. She didn't just cheat. She built a whole new reality on top of mine and tried to convince our daughter to live inside it. Now it was collapsing. A few days later, Lauren finally messaged me. Not through text, through the parenting app. She used the official channel. Cold. Robotic. Like a stranger emailing HR. "I would like to reschedule visitation with Ava. Can we talk about that next week?" No apology. No explanation for the no-show. Just a line of corporate politeness like none of it ever happened. I replied, "Ava is open to visitation when she feels ready. She's asked for time. I'm respecting that." She left it on read. The next few weeks were peaceful. Ava started opening up again. We walked the dog. We played board games. I even caught her laughing at a stupid dad joke I thought had no chance of landing. She was healing slowly. And me? I was rebuilding. Every part of my life Lauren had touched, I started reclaiming. I sold the old house. Transferred the business shares she tried to fake claim. I even found time to repaint the walls in my new place, colors I picked. Not the muted grays she always insisted made the house look upscale. I started sleeping again. Real sleep. The kind where you don't wake up reaching for a phone to check if someone's lying to you again. Then, one afternoon, as I left the gym, I saw her. Lauren. Standing near the parking lot. Hoodie up. Makeup smeared. Like she hadn't slept in days. She stepped forward like she was going to say something. I shook my head once. Sharp. Final. She stopped, lowered her eyes, and walked away. No words. No apology. No closure. And honestly, that was the closure I needed. She had finally realized I wasn't coming back. Not for her. Not for some fake peace talk. Not for nostalgia. I wasn't the same man she walked all over. That man was dead. In his place stood someone sharper, colder, wiser, and freer. It started with whispers. First, I heard from an old mutual friend, Hannah, someone who had been close to both Lauren and me during the early years of our marriage. We hadn't talked in ages, not since Lauren subtly pushed her out of our social circle with those manipulative, "I just don't trust her" lines. But now Hannah was back, and her tone was different. "She's not doing great," she said cautiously. I ran into her at the pharmacy. She looked gone, like she was still trying to fake confidence, but it's all unraveling. I stayed quiet. "She asked about you," Hannah added after a pause. "And Ava." Of course she did. Lauren never thought beyond herself. She built her identity on being adored, envied, wanted. Now that the image had cracked and the crowd stopped clapping, she was standing in silence, and it was suffocating her. But I wasn't going to save her. That part of my life was over. Instead, I focused on what mattered. Ava. The business. My health. My sanity. I started going to therapy once a week. I didn't tell anyone, not even Brian. I just walked in, sat down, and started unpacking years of silence. It was like scraping rust off a locked door. Ugly at first, but the handle started turning. Week by week, I learned how much I had let myself shrink in that marriage. How many little humiliations I'd swallowed. How many gaslit conversations I survived where she twisted the truth and made me question my own memory. The therapist called it erosion. I called it marriage. Same thing, really, at least back then. One night, Ava came into the kitchen while I was cooking dinner. She sat at the counter, quietly scrolling through her phone, then looked up. "Did you love her?" she asked. It hit me like a jab to the ribs. I stirred the pot just to buy time. "I did," I finally said. "Very much. For a long time." She nodded. "Why did she do it?" I looked at her, my daughter, now old enough to start connecting dots adults usually try to hide. I couldn't lie. Not anymore. She'd had enough of that. Sometimes people are broken inside and they try to fix it by breaking other people, I said. And sometimes they're just selfish. Ava didn't cry. She just nodded again, slowly. "I'm glad you're not like that." I smiled. "I'm trying." By the 3rd month post-divorce, I started getting invites again, dinners, parties, small business mixers. People noticed I wasn't dragging dead weight anymore. I wasn't distracted. I was present, alert, focused. Lauren, meanwhile, was trying to hold on to what little social capital she had left. Then came the message. It was a simple text from an unknown number, but I recognized the typing style instantly. Lauren, can we just talk? I stared at the screen for a solid minute. She hadn't used the app. She bypassed the rules. She wanted real access. That alone told me she wasn't reaching out for Ava. She was reaching out for herself. I didn't reply. Later that week, I found out she'd been evicted from the apartment she tried renting with Mitch, the one where they were supposed to start their life. Turns out, Mitch had drained his savings trying to keep two women happy, and neither of them ended up with the fairy tale. Ava saw a photo of her mom on someone else's story, hair unkempt, eyes red, standing outside a bar. She didn't say anything, just handed me the phone and walked away. I deleted the photo. Lauren wasn't the same woman anymore, but I was no longer the same man. I had nothing to prove and nothing to fix. Everything she broke, I was rebuilding stronger, wiser, brick by brick. And the best part? She had to watch from the outside. 6 months. That's how long it had been since the hallway conversation that changed everything. The day I stood frozen outside the living room and heard my own daughter laugh about the man who replaced me. Back then, I thought my life had ended. Now, it had just begun. My mornings were quieter now. Not in that tense, awkward silence I used to navigate around Lauren's moods. This was real peace. No tightrope walking. No guessing games. Just coffee, a clear head, and a daughter who slowly but surely started to smile again. Ava had changed. She wasn't the same wide-eyed girl who used to wait by the door for her mom's attention. She was sharper now, wiser. Sometimes I'd catch her analyzing people, watching how they spoke, how they treated others, like she was building a new filter for trust. And she should. The world had shown her something cruel, far too early. But she faced it, just like I did. Lauren didn't vanish completely, of course. People like her never do, not out of some malicious persistence, but because they simply don't know how to disappear with grace. She still sent the occasional message through the co-parenting app, still asked for second chances, subtly disguised as parenting concerns. Ava doesn't answer my calls. I'd like to plan a trip with her. Can we discuss holidays? I always kept it professional. Direct. No room for old wounds or reopened doors. Ava's still processing. Let her come to you when she's ready. You'll need to submit a travel request with dates and supervision. We can coordinate holidays via the calendar system. That was it. No pleasantries. No emotions. Just boundaries, something she never respected in our marriage, but would now learn the hard way. I remember one afternoon walking past the mirror and realizing something strange. I didn't look tired anymore. I didn't look older, heavier, worn down. I looked focused. My shoulders weren't hunched like they used to be. My eyes weren't dull. It was like shedding the weight of betrayal had physically lifted me. Brian noticed it too. You're different, man, he said over drinks one evening. Not just single different. Free different. And I was. Free of the manipulation. The secrets. The constant gut feeling that something wasn't right but never having the proof. I think back sometimes to all the signs I ignored. The late nights. The sudden mood swings. The gaslighting. You're paranoid. You're just stressed from work. I can't even talk to you without being accused of something. Lies dressed up as concerns. Doubt served like poison in a glass of wine. If I could go back, I'd tell that version of me one thing. Don't wait for confirmation. Wait for peace. And if it never comes, leave. The final nail came in the form of a letter, handwritten, shaky, on cheap paper. It arrived without a return address, but I knew the handwriting. Lauren, I don't know how to fix what I broke. I don't know how to look our daughter in the eyes again. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. Everything. And I'm sorry. There was no ask. No request to talk. No attempt to reopen the wound. Just words. Finally, the truth too late to matter, but maybe just in time to close the book. I didn't respond. I tucked the letter into a drawer. Not as a keepsake. As a reminder. That betrayal doesn't have to define you. That walking away can be the most powerful form of revenge. And that healing is quiet. Steady. Slow. But it comes. Ava and I were driving to the coast one weekend. Just the two of us. She had her headphones in. I was watching the road. Then, she pulled one earbud out and said, "Dad, you're really okay now, aren't you?" I smiled. "Yeah, I really am." She nodded and put her earbud back in. The sun was setting behind us, and the road ahead was wide open. No detours. No dead ends. Just forward.